As I've mentioned in my other videos, there are a ton of changes currently in testing on the PBE for what is now kind of grown into Rise to War 2.0, and one of those is a complete overhaul of the equipment and itemization system of the game. In this video, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into all of the changes, or at least most of the changes. I don't even think all of them are implemented yet, but we're going to talk about what we know so far. Let's get into it. All right, the first thing that I want to mention is one of the most important aspects of the new equipment system, and that is every single skill can come on any piece of gear, regardless of the rarity. So we will no longer have, at least for now, we will no longer have things like Aegis that can only come on gold equipment, or Frenzy. Those are kind of the two big examples. I'm sure somebody will meme on me for bringing up Frenzy, because apparently I bring it up all the time. But the point being, now, regardless of whether you have purple or gold gear, everybody can get every single effect in the game. Additionally, if we look through these, some of these have a little 4 after them, and a few of them have a little 2 after them. Now, the way that you get an item's skill, it's really a set of equipment that provide that skill. If you wanted the upkeep skill to gain plus 5% recovery administered, which, by the way, if anybody from NetEase watches, that seems extremely terrible and should probably be buffed pretty significantly. But if you want that skill on your commander, you need to have 4 pieces of gear equipped with the upkeep skill. If we take a look at Might, for example, that only requires 2 pieces of gear. So you could stack Might and Safeguard, for example. However, since you only have 4 pieces, really technically 5 pieces of gear, one's a unique slot, they don't really count. You can pick one 4-set skill, 4-piece set skill, whatever you want to call it, or a two-piece set skills. I think I said a two-piece. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. You can pick two-piece set skills. It's also a little bit hard to say now that I'm saying it live here. Anyways, rather than picking out each individual skill for your commander, you're going to be picking out 1, maybe 2 skills, and then you're going to be more focused on which items have the stats that you want for your commanders. They have not totally overhauled the attribute system, but they have made some changes to it. So now items can modify damage, HP, command, attack, defense, focus, and speed. Damage is going to be very important for damage dealing commanders, as this is going to increase and modify all types of damage. So I'm pretty sure even people like Gandalf the White, Sauron, Galadriel, who are primarily dealing focus damage, they're still going to want this, at least as long as the tooltip is correct. In my limited testing, this does seem to impact Gandalf the White's damage. However, that could be placebo effect. But we'll assume for now that the tooltip is correct. HP is going to be a totally new system for commanders in 2.0. Now commanders are basically fighting alongside their units in combat. They will be taking damage, just like units, or at least in a very similar aspect to units. It seems like the way it works is anytime their formation gets attacked, the commander of that formation gets hit, and also the units in that formation get hit. The important point here is that if your commander dies, that's not going to be a good thing, and you'll need to send them home and heal them up using some of your energy. So I think it's going to be at least somewhat important, probably for most or all commanders, to not have super low HP. Otherwise, they're just going to die, and that's not going to be good for you. Command is a totally different stat now. On current live, command increases the number of units that you can have in your army. Now, command is going to be modifying the effectiveness of your army, at least in terms of attack and defense. So I think for the troop-focused commanders like Elrond, Theoden, for example, potentially Arwen, anybody who's going to be relying on troops to be dealing their damage, you're definitely going to want command, assuming that those troops are dealing physical damage, which, to be fair, is the vast majority of troops in the game. Might is now attack. I was about to say might is the same. No, might is now attack, but it does basically the same thing that might did. It now increases your phys damage. Defense is basically the same, reduces physical damage. Focus is very slightly changed. It's still modifying focus, burn, and poison damage, but it's also reducing those sources of damage. So far, focus does not seem to just be like a blanket damage reduction like it is on live, and speed is practically the same as well, although the values are quite different. The effect is the same in that it affects the turn order in which units act in battles. I do think it's going to be an important stat because, as always, attacking first in this game seems to be quite important. Additionally, as most of you probably know, I've mentioned in other videos, and it's been kind of big news, commanders now all have a unique slot. You can't really see it here. Let me move my chair and head. Commanders all have a unique item slot now, which, to be honest, like I was trying to make these videos without inputting my own opinion. I just want to provide the information, but this is a change I'm not really a big fan of because unless they make unique items easier to get, in my opinion, it's going to severely impact the pay to win aspect of the game, and I'm not a big fan of that. Hopefully, they will make unique items easier to get in some manner, so like don't take that as gospel. However, I did want to throw it out there because it's one of the things in 2.0 that I'm not particularly excited about, at least at this moment in time, because these unique items can have pretty massive effects on combat, like Faramir gaining 60% damage on himself and his ranged units. Like, that's a lot of extra damage. I mean, it's already pretty decent on live. Now he just kind of gets it for free. Well, free, quote unquote. He doesn't have to sacrifice the ability of using another chess piece in order to wear his Ranger's cape. So at least at first glance, it seems like marches that have 4 commanders, each with their unique item, at first glance, it seems like they're going to have a pretty considerable advantage over a march that has no unique items. Whether or not that's fair to you, I will let you decide for yourself. So if we look through the 4 commanders that I've been focusing on the PBE, you can sort of see some of my itemization selections. I'm by no means saying that these are correct. It's kind of just what I happen to have in the inventory. All these gold items got converted into random different skills, or maybe there was some specific method of conversion, I'm not sure. But to me, they basically popped up with random skills, and I tried to piece together something that made some semblance of sense and something that I could go ahead and max strengthen. So I did want to just at least show that you need to have a full set of Warcry, for example, or a full set of Lore of the Arcane. Lore of the Arcane being another one that could probably use some buffs as well. On all of these commanders, I went ahead and opted for 4-piece skills, probably at least in part due to they were also on items that seemed to make sense on these commanders. But the point of this video is not to point out what's the best in slot or whatever. I just wanted to see, or let you guys see, what some fully geared commanders would look like. And as a final closing note, you will notice that none of these things are refined. Initially in the PBE/2.0 information, it seemed like refines were just completely gone from the game. However, that is not the case. There will still be refines in the game. We just can't do it on the PBE yet. But if we take a look, for example, at what that is going to do, I think I have another Gray Wizard hat here somewhere. Maybe I don't. We'll take a look at the Hunter's Guide, for example. This is a totally non-strengthened, non-refined Hunter's Guide, 75 command, 3 attack, 2 focus. If we were to compare that to a fully strengthened one, you will see that the command itself is still 75, while the attack and focus are increased. So refinement, instead of increasing the effectiveness of your ability on your item, so like refining this will not be affecting Warcry, for example. Instead, it is going to be increasing the primary stat, I guess you would call it, the top level base stat, whatever you want to call that. For example, if we look here at a strengthening on this EWK, you'll see it increases attack, focus, and command, but does not affect damage. This part is what refinement will be affecting in the future, at least once they implement that. That's what they have told us. And I remembered one final note. One part that I'm a bit skeptical about in terms of these changes as well is, let's just pull up Radagast here. We're going to give him a Noldor sword. Sounds good. If we were to compare this non-strengthened Noldor sword to something like a fully strengthened cutlass, On live right now, the fully strengthened cutlass in almost every situation would be better. However, if we compare the stats here, we have 6 damage on a fully strengthened cutlass, 10 damage on just a blank baby Noldor sword. Basically, purple fully strengthened gear, for the most part, now seems to be worse than non-strengthened gold gear. So, again, I was kind of wanting to keep my opinion out of these videos and just provide information, but that's another thing that I am a little bit skeptical about. I'll let you guys come to your own conclusions there, but I did feel like it was worth mentioning in this video. That's it for this one, and thank you for watching.